Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Alan with EARMILK. We are here for another episode of EARMILK Chats. Now, my guest today is a familiar name that has been riding through the underground rap scene for the last few years now. His debut project is finally amongst us. We are here and talking to the one and the only Mr. Lou Phelps.
What's good? What's good? How you feeling?
Good man, good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm vibing. It's
Vibing, vibing.
a great day. You know.
Awesome, awesome. Now, this is your debut album that's been in the works for over 5 years. How do you feel?
Feel great. I'm excited for it to drop. I'm just, I'm very grateful that it could finally be out, and yeah, just ready for the ride.
For sure, for sure. This thing has been in the works for a good, like, a good a hot minute, hot minute now. I think the last EP before this was Top Z last year, but I think the last like more full length project or mixtape or smaller project you can say was probably like 2020.
Yeah.
So my question for you is that you've been keeping busy with a few Lucy's, a few freestyles. You had that EP from last year, but what made this the right time to drop? And specifically, when it came to the songs on the project, you had Jungle that came out as a single in 2023, yet that one's still on the project, this upcoming album. So, what was your process in crafting both of them?
Um. So basically, um, this album was supposed to be released because I had signed a deal with Rostrum Records a while back, um, and then we basically fell out. But yeah, I mean, this album was is like the maybe the fourth version of the album. Ever since like 2020 I've been working on it. Um and then but it was a whole different like direction, obviously. But yeah, me and Kay had a conversation, and we were talking about what the game needs, like what the industry needs, and this sound is like lacking. And I was like, this is like my lane, low key. So I should just do an album full of that type of sound. And um, yeah, in terms of timing, why did I wait so long? Mainly because of the label. Um, Mainly because of the label, but I would say, yeah, man. I don't know. Perfect timing, I guess. It's just like waiting for things to be there on time, waiting for the right moment. I don't know. It's just divine timing, I guess.
No, divine timing. I like that. You said this is like this album has just been going through multiple versions and recuts for the last few years. What's been the most difficult process in crafting the project?
The most difficult process, definitely letting go of perfection, because I'm a very like perfectionist type of artist. I hold on to stuff and I try to like making that dissociation between like making myself understand basically that nobody heard the music that I heard. So I'm like, oh, like these flaws, or like, I noticed a couple flaws or whatever, but some people just are just gonna accept like me the way I am. So being a perfectionist is definitely the worst part of crafting this album, but it's also necessary, I think. But yeah, definitely that, letting go of the perfection and just giving it out, just handing it to the people.
For sure. You mentioned that you had this conversation talking about what the industry needed right now, and that's really where the idea of this album came into fruition. There was this quote that I got from you saying that you said, I think it was rap is very, it's very, you can expect what's coming, or
Mhm.
it's very predictable.
Yeah.
What were some steps, or really what went into that thought process of what the rap industry need right now?
Um, it's very like right now. I don't know. I was watching a video of Mace, the video "Welcome Back," and I was like, wow, man, hip hop used to be so joyful and so like bright, and now I have nothing against like what rap is right now, but it's very dark. It's very like, murder and fucking drugs and all that. So it's just like, let me just talk about good times, just no one's filling that void of like feel good music, but in the rap genre. So yeah, it's pretty much it. I just thought about something like there's no dancey rappers except like Gold Link, but Gold Link had his time, and I'm sure if he drops something else, he'll come back out. But yeah, definitely like it's just a lane that isn't really used, and it's something I always like to do, something I'm comfortable doing. So yeah, the like dancey rap, it's my thing.
For sure, for sure. You've described your music as rap house, incorporating those funky, more bounce-filled, energetic beats. And the way you describe your music is a lot more upbeat, a lot more positive, a lot more energy-filled. Um, what projects would you say have influenced you the most during the process of making Chebe?
Um, it's funny because they're like totally not related. Um, like I during the process of making this album, I was listening to a lot of Bjork, a lot of like Prince, or like what would I actually, yeah, I mean, Wu-Tang was a big inspiration, I would say, as well. Like the instrumental, like the RZA beats and all that. Very, very inspiring, I would say. But I don't know. I don't listen to that much music, to be honest with you. Like I don't listen to that much hip hop. I don't listen to that much rap. So I'm just like I would say Bjork or like Prince are really the inspirations of this album for some reason. I don't know. But that's what I was listening to. It got me in a vibe.
Now I feel you. There's something about Venus as a Boy from Bjork that also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There were no house albums that you were listening to that really inspired any of the beats, or more of like the rhythms.
House albums, I would say there's like a bunch of knowledge tapes on Bandcamp, or like Madlib has a like alter ego house alter ego called DJ Rels, or like I would listen to Geo Theory. There's like a bunch of different artists that I would listen to. But also obviously K Tronada is a big inspiration. He's like I love that's my brother. I love his beats and all that. But to me he's like still one of the greats. So and I'm not being biased. But yeah. Um yeah, just K, Geotheory, um um what Moody Man as well. Knowledge. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, shout out to Moody Man. Shout out to Moody Man. That's a good follow in to my only K Tronada album question I really have for you. Just knowing that he produced the entirety of the project is very interesting to me. You guys have made a lot of music together, and I think it's really interesting seeing how there are songs that are truly just for you, but also at the same time you will have music that features you on his latest projects. So, what motivated the move to have him exclusively produce the entire album?
I mean, K always produces most of my music. Um, like maybe I might like on the album there's two tracks that aren't produced by him, but he still had an input on if I should put it on the album or no. But yeah, like if I work with anybody outside of K, it's probably like either Techlun or Rami B. Just these two producers exactly. So it's just K, Rami B, and Tech. But um I don't know. K was like, yo, just give him what they want, give him the heat, the Celestics type of music. So I said, fuck it, let's go. Let's get that going.
No, for sure, for sure. How do you guys distinguish who gets what on whose album?
That's all K. That's all K, honestly.
Okay.
K, like, Call You Up was supposed to be on the album. But K was like, nah, this is too good, so let me just take it. I was like, all right, sure. Like I'm not gonna say no to that. But yeah, that's pretty much K that decides what
For
goes on
sure.
the album.
In classic brother fashion, he just said mine.
Yeah, big bro.
I'm a middle child. I get it.
Yeah.
Going from there, there's so many quotables from this project, and but what's really interesting too, just listening from the album itself, is that there's a lot of like areas where you start going in between English and a little bit of French and Creole. So you have a really extended lexicon. So I want to ask you, has there ever been a time where you constantly used a phrase in a different language in a space where no one knew what you were talking about?
I mean, definitely in America, when me and Kay would be talking together in French or like in in Creole. Sometimes we have like little inside inside jokes that we say, or inside like lines that no one really understands. But yeah, it happens all the time, honestly. That's like the perks of having different languages, of knowing different languages, is you can say things and people won't understand. But honestly, it's kind of like the way I say it, you kind of would understand what I mean just by the way I say it. Like you don't even have to actually explain what the phrase means, and then just by the intonation of the voice, or like the emotion that I put behind it, you could kind of understand. But yeah, it happens all the time, for sure.
No, for sure. Thank you for letting me know. Now, going more into Chebe itself. Now, I know Katra handles all the production, and you actually already mentioned them earlier, but GoldLink actually gets the sole feature of the project. Now, I wanted to ask you, how did that collaboration come into fruition?
I've known Golden Lake for years. Um, she's been one of the homies, just been around. But yeah, my homie Lon, basically, um, I showed him the album, like one of the cuts of the album before it was fully done, and he was like, "Yo, we should get Gold Link on this." And I'm like, I'm not gonna ask him because he didn't necessarily explicitly say that he wanted to work, but Lon was like, "Nah, we gotta get this done." So I said, "All right, Lon, pull the strings, make it happen," and then boom, like maybe a week later, I got the verse. So I'm like, I was just shook. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfect fit. I think it's the only feature that was needed on the album as well. So like, if because I saw this album as a way to portray my skills, or just like like, here I am, this is who Lou Phelps is. But I think Goldlink is the only person that kind of gets what I want to do with my music. So it was only right to have him as a feature. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's really interesting that you mentioned that. I know GoldLink very early on, like during like I think a few years ago, was doing a lot of the rap house or more like energetic, upbeat music. And this album's coming out during the time a time where I feel like a lot of rappers, and not just rappers, but just like other artists, are kind of imploring that house, some more energetic, upbeat tempo vibe into their music. So
Mhm.
I think this album is coming at a very interesting time. Do you feel like we're seeing a neo house renaissance with how much people, rappers, and other musicians are incorporating it into their music, or do you think that there's a little bit more longevity to it?
Um, Honestly, I don't know that many artists that make neo house, or I don't know how you call it, but I don't know that many artists that make that type of sound. I feel like I'm kind of um I wouldn't say I'm the only one, because there's obviously more people doing it, but um if that's what's happening, then I'm glad to be part of the train. Like, I'm just joining. But yeah. Um I hope it happens, and if no one's doing it, then I'm glad to be the one bearing the flag, or whatever, leading the way, if that's the case.
Now, before we kind of pivot away from Chebe, I do want to ask you if there were any other moments where you kind of had some difficulty coming together with the project, or besides, from the technical aspect of like the labels and management. Like, was there a certain song where you were just trying to find like the right verse for it, or was a point to where you feel like something wasn't clicking, but you really were trying to force it?
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of the tracks on there, I would say, "What Now" actually is one of the ones that I was like, I don't know about this one, or I was like, maybe the second verse needs a little change. I had so many versions of that song. It's crazy. It's like maybe like 4 or 5 versions of that song. But yeah, I would say "What Now," or um, "Is My Mic On" also. Is a very like, it's kind of tough, because it's like I've never really been so open in my verses. Like, I've never been so like vulnerable, I would say. Like Is My Mic On is a very personal song, I would say. Or yeah, there's many versions of that one too. There's many versions of, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always gonna retouch every song that I do. There's like one song that didn't make the cut on the streaming version of the album, but that if you get the vinyl, it'll be on there. It's called Gemini Moon, but even that, I'm like, you know, it's just a Lucy, I don't know. It's just coming up with an album. I don't know. I was trying to make a concept and make it sound like one thing, a concise album. But yeah, definitely What Now, I would say What Now or Is My Mic On is definitely the two that was kind of hard to push through.
No, for sure, it's hard being a perfectionist, especially when you're dealing with such broad ideas too. I think you already answered this before, but I just want to touch on it again, just because knowing your process is a little bit more hands-on and like you put a lot more emphasis and detail into it. This album took a few years to make, and then last year you dropped Top Z, the EP. Did you feel like you were already working on Chelbe for so long that you were able to take a different route to make a little fun little EP of its own with its own identity, or do you feel like both of the like how was that process of crafting both of those at the same time?
Top Z EP was supposed to drop right after Chelbe. Basically, I was supposed to swap places. The album should have dropped when Top Z was gonna drop, but then um label stuff and strategy made me drop the Top Z EP first. But all these songs were made in the same type of era. Um yeah, man, like Top Z EP was definitely one of those where it's just like like for maybe like the like 4 years since 2020, basically I've been working every single day trying to make one track. So it's like the number of tracks that I have is like unlimited, and like out of all of these tracks there's maybe like 15 more that I could drop an album like next week again if I needed to. But um yeah, like I just have so much music. I was like, let me just not hold on to this. And like the more I hold on, the less I like the songs. But I know that the crowd hasn't, like the fans haven't heard it yet. So that kind of wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be fair to my fans to hold on to this music and not like share it just because I don't necessarily love it anymore. But I love all these songs, and I put a lot of effort and a lot of energy in all of these songs. So um yeah, I mean, Top Z EP was done at the same time, and I just wanted to drop something. I just wanted to keep my name out there. I was like, you know what? Let me just drop this. A little Lucy, a little 3-4 tracks.
Little something from
Yeah, a little.
little.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I have one really question I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. I've been listening since like 2018. I think "Come Inside" was probably one of my favorite tracks that I listened to all throughout college. And there's this bar in that song that goes,
Met her at the strip club, she was a freelancer. Told her to give me a sign, she was a Cancer.
do you take being a Cancer as a good or a bad sign?
I mean, every sign has their positives and negatives. But I guess the Cancers are a bit more freaky, I would say. Freelancer. It was making an allusion to me being at the strip club and then asking a girl what's her sign, and then she told me she was a Cancer. But at the same time, I was seeing a girl that was a Cancer, and yeah, a little, I'm not trying to get too explicit, but it's
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for answering that. Shout out to the Cancer.
nothing wrong with the Cancers. Nothing wrong with the Cancers. It's just a way of life, I guess. A way of life. Are you a Cancer? Is this why you're asking?
No, I love Cancers. I'm a Sag, but
Okay.
I love me the Cancers.
Right,
But
right.
that line, I was listening to that song recently, and I was like, oh, I finally have the chance to ask him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, with this debut finally off of your chest, I want to ask you, my friend, what do you hope to accomplish next?
Um, just drop more music, more. I wanna. I mean, this is kind of like every Montreal rapper's dream to like become like a superstar or whatever. I'm not really about that. I just wanna help the community and open doors because it's really tough out here in Montreal to get a name, get your name out. Just being Canadian itself is just um it's tough, because there's a lot of like I don't know, a lot of judgment, I would say, from being Canadian. Like they're like, oh well, they don't really know about this style of music, and they don't know this and they don't know that. But realistically, we all like the world is so connected right now that like anyone can make good music, and it's just so easy. Like I literally recorded this, well, most of the album in my home, like here, like right here. So, um, yeah, man, just like possibly open more doors and help out more Canadian artists to get a bigger international approach or get a bigger international vision. Um, um, the visibility, not vision. But yeah, that's like one of the main goals. It's not necessarily what I would want right after this album. I just want to get my name out there, really. I just want people to respect me as a rapper and work with more people, get more like, just actually be recognized as a solid artist, pretty much.
For sure, for sure. I didn't realize it was so hard to get that recognition being an artist based in Canada. I always think
And
of it as like
it
since
took
we're
me
like
like
right there.
it took me like 12 years to get here, like it's I know it's about the music obviously, but you know, still it's like I know a lot of rappers that aren't as good as I am and that have a good spotlight, so it's just like being Canadian, you already start at minus 10, let's say. Like you start 10 steps back, but you have to like push forward. But yeah, definitely that for sure. Open doors for Canadian rappers and just Canadian artists in general.
Well, the floodgates have definitely opened. Mr. Lou Phelps, that was my last question. So I want to thank you for chatting with me today. And before we go ahead and sign off, were there any last minute questions or any sort of like shout outs or anything you wanted to promote?
No. Shout out to Lon, shout out to Will, shout out to K. Chelbe out now. Shout out to EARMILK.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. So